everyone, this is CA Rekha. So today in this session we'll be covering what are auditing standards, what is the origin of auditing standards, and few other supplementary topics that is required, very important for your exams, but which were left out in the first chapter, basics and nature of auditing. So those things will be covered here. So first I'm going to start with what are auditing standards. So what is the origin of auditing standards? Then we'll be moving on to what are the relationships of auditing with the different branches or different field of studies. Then we'll be seeing the difference between investigation and auditing. So there are three topics. So first I'll be starting with what is auditing standards. So basically, like when I start with auditing standards, normally every time when we teach the students what standards on auditing are, once just I finish, say for example, I start with essay, one particular essay, essay 570 or going concern or subsequent events, whichever essay I start with. Then when we go and ask the students some question or some case study, something related to that particular auditing standard, the normal tendency is they will be answering with reference to your accounting standards. So why I said this, that is the kind of relevance that everyone places on accounting standards. But why this auditing standards? So that is the question. Already we have a set of accounting standards, and everything whatever we do, we try to explain with reference to our accounting standards. So why this auditing standards? So previously in a previous Companies Act, old Companies Act, there was a section which mandated that the particular financials of the company should represent a true and fair view of the affairs in such a way that it should also comply with the accounting standards. So that was a mandatory limitation that is set by the Companies Act, that accounting standards has to be complied with, but there was nothing with reference to your auditing standards. So now with the new Companies Act 2013, we have section 129, which says every financial statement, the financial statements of the company should represent a true and fair view of the affairs or the state of affairs of the company, and it should comply with the accounting standards. Similarly, section 143, what it says, section 143 says, 149 says that the auditor must comply with the auditing standards. So, if accounting standards are giving a check on the regulators, say for example your companies, your entities, your banks, this auditing standards is a kind of check on the auditors. So every auditor, in order to perform his duties, in order to review the financials, in order to give the report, in order to give the qualifications, he must comply with the so-called auditing standards. So now this is a mandatory thing that has to be followed by each and every person who is auditing the financials. Previously this was not mandated in the Companies Act, but now the Companies Act has included this point that it should also include your auditing standards. So we discussed what is the importance of auditing, what is the importance of including auditing standards, not just accounting standards. Now, as saying, I said what this auditing standard is. Now we'll come to what is the definition of auditing. So what is the definition of standards in auditing? What is an auditing standard? So normally we know what are standards. Standards are kind of rules or guidelines. Similarly, your auditing standards are nothing but what it is, a systematic set of guidelines. It is a systematic set of guidelines or rules that has to be followed by the auditor while reviewing the financial statements for the entity. It is a systematic set of guidelines. Now, systematic set of guidelines we have. So, is it mandatory in nature? We have your auditing standards, we have your guidance notes. Guidance notes, something that people doesn't touch for the exams. Okay, we have different chapters. You have your standards on auditing, you have your Companies Act, you have bank audit, different chapters. So there is one section we tend to push it till the end. If time permits, we'll see that. So that is your guidance note. So what is the importance of guidance note? What is guidance note? What is your standards, auditing standards? So auditing standards, as I said, it is a systematic set of guidelines which is used by the auditor while reviewing the financials. So now, is it mandatory? Should every auditor go, or should every auditor do the audit as per your standards on auditing? Yes, it is recommendatory. Auditing standards are really necessary for doing the audit, but certain cases wherever the auditor feels that this is not required to be done this way, then he can do so. But if there is any material deviation from what is supposed to be done as per the auditing or accounting standards, and that was done, then that has to be disclosed in the report. So normally it is recommendatory in nature. It has to be normally complied upon while doing an audit. Every audit, whatever he is doing, he has to comply with the auditing as well as the accounting standards. And in those places where there is a material deviation from the way the audit is conducted and not following the auditing or accounting principles and standards, then such material deviations should be disclosed in the report. This is a one mandatory criteria. Now, again coming to auditing standards and the mandatory requirement. Now, what is a guidance note? Guidance note is also again something that is used to assist the auditor while doing a real-time audit. So, while a particular member is doing an audit, any kind of clarifications that is required with respect to how the audit should be done, what extent the audit procedures has to be applied, what is the timing of such audit procedures, what other audit evidence has to be collected, all these things will be given by a manual that is so called as your guidance notes. So these are something that helps the auditor while performing the audit. So again, any deviation from the so-called guidance notes or so-called standards on auditing while performing the audit, material deviation should be disclosed. So these are basically kind of check on the quality of the audit, how the audit is being performed, what is the quality with which the audit is being performed. All this is taken care by the auditing standards and the guidance notes. Now again, to what extent the auditor has to perform the audit procedure. So what are the kind of evidence collection methods? What is the kind of test that he is doing on the transactions? Is it on a sampling basis, or what is the kind of materiality that fixes to the particular? Everything will be defined or will be given, guided by the standards on auditing. So these are basic. What is this all about? What your standards on auditing is? What are guidance notes? Or whether it is recommendatory in nature, whether it has to be followed. If there is any material deviation from not following these, what is the thing that has to be done by the auditor? We come to that. Now, why auditing standards? Whether these auditing standards are same as those followed by the rest of the world? That is the next question. Now, initially we had our International Federation of Accountants, and this International Federation of Accountants, first it has the main purpose or the objective of this IFAC, this body called IFAC, was to bring harmony among the profession of accountancy. So, in order to bring harmony amongst the accountants, this particular body was set up, IFAC, International Federation of Accountants. Our ICI is also a member of IFAC. Now, IFAC, because of public interest, in order to check upon the existing quality of the standards, they implemented or they introduced a body called as International Auditing and Assurance Standard. International Auditing and Assurance Standard Board was introduced, and this International Auditing and Assurance Standard Board is an independent body that is functioning as per the guidance of the IFAC. What International Auditing and Assurance Standard Board does, or what are the objectives? We are going to see what are the objectives of. So, IFAC was mainly introduced in order to bring harmony among the profession of accountancy and in public interest in order to introduce high quality auditing standards. It came up with a body called as International Auditing and Assurance Standard Board, IAASB. So what are the objectives of IAASB? How IAASB is related to the standards what we are studying now is the next point. So what is IAASB? IAASB is International Auditing and Assurance Service Board. Now what is the main objective of this? What is the main objective? First main objective is because of public interest, or in order to serve the public interest, it has set up high quality auditing standards. So first objective is in order to serve the public interest by setting up high quality auditing standards. So now when I tell this, especially in auditing, the paper of auditing, whenever you are studying the concepts, don't just memorize the concepts, so don't just memorize the points, because when you just memorizing the points, it is a tragedy. So whenever you are understanding each and every concept, you link all the steps together and then try to understand the concept. For example, here itself, I was studying about the objectives of IAASB. So what are the objectives? First objective is serving the public interest by setting up high quality auditing standards. That is the first step. Now, what is the next? What is the use of setting up these high quality auditing standards? What is the use? Once the high quality auditing standards are introduced, it will enhance the quality. So the second point, yeah, I'm linking to the first point, auditing standards. Second point is what? Enhancing the quality, thereby enhancing the quality. What happens when quality is being enhanced? Now we want to make sure that whatever audit that is being performed in India is in par with the so-called audit statements across the world. So say for example, we have ICAI is recognized, CA is recognized in India. Similarly, there are different countries which recognize CA. Your Arab countries, your Canada, different Singapore, different countries they recognize a CA qualification. Certain countries do not recognize. So those countries which recognize this particular qualifications, when you go for a job, it is easier to get openings there. There are lots of openings for the Indian chartered accountants there. Similarly, whatever financials I'm auditing here, it should be having some kind of a relevance with those practices that is followed across the world. So the next objective is to bring uniformity with the practices that is followed throughout the world. How will you bring uniformity? There should be some kind of a convergence between the international standards and those standards which is followed in India, right? There should be some kind of convergence. So third objective is bringing about a convergence between the international standards and the national standards that is followed in. Then the last one, so when we are bringing about the convergence, there is a uniformity of the practices throughout the world, there is an enhancement in quality. What happens normally? What is the next thing? There is a strengthening of public confidence. So all these points are linked. First we started with what? Serving the public interest by bringing in high quality auditing standards. When high quality auditing standards are brought in, what is the next thing that happens? Your quality of audits gets increased. When your quality of auditing gets increased, what happens? You want to bring in a uniformity of the practices across the world. How does it happen? By bringing a convergence between the standards, international standards, and those followed in India. Lastly, when all this happens, quality, high quality auditing standards, your quality of audit is improved, then our public interest is being served, there is a uniformity of practice. Everything happens, what happens? There is a strengthening of public confidence. So all these are the objectives of your international auditing and assurance standard. I'll tell them once again. Your auditing and assurance standard. The first objective is serving the public interest by bringing in high quality auditing standards. Second is enhancing the quality and bringing a uniformity across the practice throughout the world by making a convergence between the international standards and those standards adopted by the particular nation. Lastly, thereby strengthening the public confidence. So these are the objectives. Now, having known the objectives of the IASB, how does IASB achieve those objectives? What are the measures taken by the International Auditing and Assurance Standard Board to achieve those objectives? What are the measures? In order to achieve these objectives, it brings across certain standards. It makes sure that it establishes certain high quality standards. Certain standards are brought in place, or certain standards are established in order to achieve these objectives. So we will see what are those standards. Basically, there are 5 standards. What are those? One is your auditing standards. Your auditing standards, establishing high quality auditing standards. What are auditing standards used for? Auditing standards are basically for reviewing your financials, your historic information, your financial information while doing the audit of a particular entity. Now, second is what? High quality assurance standards. Again, assurance means what? Mainly they are related to your compliance and regulatory compliances, analyzing regulatory and compliance oriented. So second is bringing in high quality assurance standard. Third is what? Bringing in or establishing high quality services related to other related services. What are other related services? So first is auditing, second is assurance, third is other related services. What are other related services? Services like you have your compilation engagements or compilation services. Then you have your certain agreed upon procedures. So agreed upon procedures as well as your compilation, all these form part of your other services that is related to auditing but not exactly reviewing the financials. So these are somehow related to your auditing and accounting function. So other related services standards. Next is what? Quality control standards. Quality, in order to check the quality effectiveness of quality across the audit throughout the scope of the audit, bringing in quality control standards. And the last is your review engagement, standards on review engagement. So all these 5 sets of standards are being brought in by International Auditing and Assurance Standard Board to make sure that they are effectively discharging their objective. So we understood the objective, how they are discharging the objective also we saw. So what is IFAC, what is IASB, how the assurance, how IASB serves the public, what is the objective, how the objective is being discharged. Now coming to the Indian scenario. In order, first what happened, our ICI is a member of IFAC, and every particular guideline that is established by IFAC or ICIs, we are sure that they are going to implement that. So in order to have a convergence between the so-called accounting auditing guidelines that is established by IFAC or the Auditing Practices Committee, International Auditing Practices Committee, we have to make a convergence between those in India and the international standards. So what happened? ICI, our international auditing standard, similar to the International Auditing and Assurance Standard Board and International Practices Committee, we have an Auditing Practices Committee here. Our Auditing Practices Committee, the main function of the Auditing Practices Committee was to review the auditing standards or review the guidelines on which the audit has to be done. So they changed or they transformed to something called as a Auditing and Assurance Standard Board with the objective of having or making a convergence between the international auditing standards and the standards on auditing that is being used here. So we have to make sure that the gap between both the two is bridged. Some manner we have to bridge the gap between both the two. But is it okay, like if we just copy whatever standards are being followed abroad and this can be implemented just like that? No. Whatever standards are being followed there, we should make sure that those particular standards are used in the Indian scenario, that is with respect to the existing laws, existing customs and existing usages. It should be compatible with the existing laws, usages and customs which is followed in India, and then we should make sure that we have bringing an integration between the two. So those kind of activities are being followed by the AASB, Auditing and Assurance Standard Board. Then next is whatever guidance notes are written there. It reviews the guidance note as per the changing circumstances. Now we have incorporated the international standards also, but incorporated in such a way that it is compatible with the Indian laws, customs and usages and whichever way in which we are using. So we have made sure that it is compatible. Now the next step is what? Guidance notes are already being provided. So guidance note has to be reviewed as per the changed scenario. Technical manuals has to be provided. So all these are the objectives of Auditing and Assurance Standard. So Auditing and Assurance Standard Board is all these things. Now Auditing and Assurance Standard Board comes up with a set of standards. What are the set of standards? That is called as your Engagement and Quality Control Standards. It is collectively called as Engagement Standards. So this is one exam question every time they ask us. So out of this there are two questions that are coming. What are the objectives of IASB? What are the different standards that is being proposed by the Auditing and Assurance Standard Board? So here there are 5 standards. One is standards on quality control, standards on auditing, standards on assurance services, standards on review engagements and standards on other related services. So whatever is there in our ASB, same. We have the same set of standards. So for assurance engagements, we have the assurance standards, auditing for financial review of financial statements. For our related services, other related services like compilation and different kinds of specific procedures. For example, your agreed upon procedures. For all those, we have other related services, in standards on other related services. Then we have a quality control services, quality control standards, and lastly we have the review engagements. So all these standards are brought into picture. So this is about the introduction to auditing. What is auditing standard? Origin of auditing standard. What is IFAC? What is IASB? How the Auditing and Assurance Standard Board try to make a bridge between the international auditing standards and the auditing standards followed here. What are the objectives and what are the different standards that is brought about by the ASB. So this covers and what are guidance notes and what are the uses of guidance notes and auditing standards. So we covered the introduction to auditing. So last session actually we covered the chapter audit plan, audit strategy and audit program. So in that it is again one particular standards in auditing SAP 300. So SAP 300 we actually covered in the last session. So now I'm giving you about overview of what standards are. Now next topic is what is the relationship of auditing with the different fields of study. So now we know auditing. So first when you look into auditing, what is the first thing that comes in your mind? Auditing means something related with accounting. Auditing starts where accounting ends. That is a famous statement that everybody would have heard. Auditing starts where accounting ends. So what is the relationship between auditing and accounting? We have a relationship between auditing and accounting. Then what? Auditing and other laws. So what are the laws? Then auditing and economics, auditing and behavioral science, then what? Auditing and information system, your data processing systems, then auditing and financial management, auditing and production. We have n number of areas where auditing is linked. Now first we will see auditing and accounting. So auditing is nothing but reviewing the financials, and these financials are what? A product of the accounting process. So every person, auditor who is auditing the financials should be able to understand the financial, able to interpret the financial statements, should have a thorough understanding of the accounting principles and the accounting standards that has to be followed here. So that is the first thing. Second is what? Auditing and law. Law in the sense, whichever entity I am going to audit, I should have a clear understanding of the business laws that is applicable to the entity. For example, I am going to audit a company. Companies Act, I should understand Companies Act, how far the Companies Act is applicable, what are the reports, reporting I have to follow. So if I am going to audit a bank, what is the framework, financial reporting framework. So particular law that is applicable to that particular entity, whichever I am auditing, the auditor should be having a thorough knowledge of the same. Secondly, tax, direct and indirect tax laws, whatever tax laws that is applicable to the company, again it should be having a good knowledge. Third part is what? Auditing and economics. What is economics? Economics is what? Normally, auditing is reviewing the financial activity of a particular enterprise. So, financial activity means what? It is again the economic activity, whatever happening within the entity. Economic activity happening within the entity. So, third is auditor should have an understanding of the economic activity that is happening within the entity. What are the economic factors that is affecting the entity? What are the pricing strategies? What are the different products and how it is being priced? What are the policies, governmental policies that affect the particular entity? So he should have an idea about the economics, microeconomics that is affecting that particular entity in which he is auditing. That is the third thing. So each and every thing, especially your auditing and accounting, your auditing and economics, all these has been tested in the exams, or at least they have come in the RTPs. So make sure you refer to the relationship of auditing with different people. Next is auditing and behavioral science. So this is like quite weird, right? Auditing and behavioral science. Is there any kind of relation between auditing and behavioral science? Because auditing is purely something with financials. You are reviewing the financials, you are checking on the cash flows, balance sheet, P&L. So how come behavioral science get linked to auditing? So just auditing is not just reviewing your financials. When you go to an entity for an audit or an out audit, it is not just the financials that you are reviewing. You have to interact with a lot of people in order to get the information, and that information only you are reviewing. So in order to get the information, in order to get whatever is there happening from the entity, you have to interact with the staff or employees there, the senior management there. So this is a kind of interaction that you have to make with the employees or staff of that particular. So you should have a knack of getting along with the people. So it is necessary to have an understanding of the human behavior. So that is how your auditing and your behavioral science are both linked together. So when you just hear about behavioral science, you may not find any kind of linkage, but think in the perspective, when you go for an audit, it is not just the books. So you are going, verifying and coming back. In order to get the books, you may have to get interact with a number of people, get the audit evidence, different audit procedures, you have to apply inquiry, so then getting a management representation. All these requires an act of getting along with people, understanding the human behavior. So there comes the relevance of behavioral science. Next is sampling and statistics and mathematics. Where the statistics and mathematics come? So when I was telling about the audit procedures that has to be applied, audit. So when you are applying different kinds of audit procedures, say one of the procedures is a recalculation, re-performance, counting the inventory. So all these requires your mathematical ability. Arithmetic is required. So there it is clearly evident how mathematics is written, how statistics is written. Normally, when we go for an audit, when we have a number of transactions, it is not humanly possible to go through each and every transaction. So normally we apply a sampling mechanism. Sampling, we take a sample. We take a sample that covers that has all the population, whatever is in the whole transaction. It covers almost all the transaction, but not every transaction as such. If there are 100 transactions, a sample should contain each type of all the transaction. And in that particular sample, how you get the sample, there are different kinds of methods: statistical sampling, random sampling. We have that in one of the standards. So there again your statistics comes into picture when you are trying to make out samples to do the audit procedures. So again, statistics as a relevance. Now next is what? Next is auditing and data processing. So this I need not explain at all. We know whichever entity we go to audit now, our traditional method of auditing bookkeeping is slowly vanishing. Now we have our systems in place. EDP audit, everything is done through systems. Your collection, your recording, your summarizing data, your extracting data, your reports, everything is done through systems. So now systems play an integral part of the accounting system itself. So there is a clear relation between auditing and data processing. You have to have a clear understanding of the system, how to extract the information from the system, what to analyze, and what are the kind of reports that can be generated by the system. So then only you can analyze what are the things in order to obtain meaningful information and give an opinion. Now the next thing is relationship between auditing and financial management. So this is again very direct, straightforward. Need to have understanding of your ratios, financial ratios, your capital budgeting, your fund flow. So this again I need not explain. Same thing, whatever is there required as per your accounting, same thing also you require for your financial management modules as much to be covered here. Last thing is the relationship of auditing with production. So why production, auditing and production? So whenever suppose you are going to audit a particular entity. So whenever you are going to audit a particular entity, say the particular company produces a particular product, and you see what is the total sales from the sales of that particular product, how much raw material is being purchased, what is the revenue. So is it necessary you understand only that particular product? Suppose there may be some joint products or byproducts that is coming along with the product, and that also fetches revenue. Sometimes even the scrap also can be sold, maybe for a lesser cost, but it can also be sold. So in those cases you should understand what are the type of products that is produced, where there are any joint products, byproducts, scrap, what is the costing method that is adopted by the particular entity, what is the method of accounting. So every production features related to the production, a particular auditor should be aware of. So these are the relation of auditing with different fields of study. We have auditing, we have law, business laws, tax, direct and indirect tax laws. You have your economics, behavioral science, we have data processing, we have financial management, we have production, and also we have one more thing, what is that? We have the statistics and management. So all these are relationship of auditing with different fields. Now coming to the last part of discussion. Again, this was tested in exam several times. What is the difference between auditing and investigation? So auditing, we know what auditing is. It is a review of the financials, review of the records and documents and the financials of the entity. Now what is investigation? Investigation is not just a review. It is a in-depth examination of specific areas, not just few records or documents randomly. You are not reviewing anything. It is a in-depth examination. In-depth examination of what? Yes, specific areas wherever you need to investigate only you do. So specific areas you are doing an in-depth examination. So that is a major difference between auditing and your investigation. Now, what is the objective of auditing? So this is the thing that I have been discussing from the first session. Objective is what? To give an opinion on whether the financial statements are representing a true and fair thing, right? So what is the objective of investigation? So investigation, the main objective is what? In order to establish a fact. So in auditing, normally when we start an audit, we will be going with the perspective of checking or reviewing the financials, and if we come across something fishy or something that requires further examination, then only we will check and gather more evidence, and then we will proceed. In-depth examination will be done. Other than that, it is not a very in-depth examination, it is a review. But in investigation, you start with the mindset that something there is wrong or something is fraudulent, and then at the end you go and establish that there is nothing. So with the mindset of starting an investigation, an audit is different. Audit, you start generally by reviewing the financials. If you come across something wrong or there is some kind of error or misstatement, then you dig deep and then you find the suitable evidences for the same. Either it could substantiate or maybe you might have a different opinion. But investigation, you start with the mindset of there is something wrong and you have to establish that there is nothing wrong or there is wrong. So there is a doubtful approach in investigation, whereas in auditing it does not follow a doubtful approach. Now, what guides or what is based what governs the auditing? Auditing is governed by standards on auditing. Standards on auditing, as we discussed few minutes back, what are standards on auditing? So standards on auditing guides the auditing process. What guides the investigation process? It is guided by what? Standards on related services. Standards on related services guides the investigation part. Now, what is the frequency of auditing and investigation? Frequency, when I say when it is done, normally auditing, it will be done on a quarterly, half-yearly or yearly basis, annual basis. We have a specific time for that. Whereas investigation, there is no specific time. Depends on the type of engagement or type of requirement for that particular audit. And this requirement, who gives the scope of that particular investigation? Scope is given by the terms of engagement. Whatever engagement term you are getting into or signing, that terms of engagement determines the time of investigation, also whichever areas has to be investigated. Whereas in an audit, we have specific times, and the scope is derived from what? In the previous session, we discussed scope is derived from either by the relevant laws or through the engagement letter or by the guidance, ICAI announcement. So different kinds of scope is obtained from different sources. Now this is a major difference. Now and again coming to limitations. Which has limitations more, your investigation or auditing? Auditing has more inherent limitations. Why? Auditing, here we are doing only a review, whereas in investigation it is a very detailed one. It is an in-depth examination. So every nook and corner you are investigating and finding out whether it is wrong or right. But in auditing it is only a review. So here there are n number of inherent limitations, especially with respect to evidence, obtaining the evidence. Whereas we don't have any kind of an inherent limitations when coming to the investigation part. Then what kind of evidence is obtained? Evidence for auditing, it is persuasive in nature. Persuasive in nature means what? It is not an absolute one. May have to quotes. We cannot make sure that whatever evidence we are obtaining is 100% correct. Whereas in investigation, whatever evidence that is obtained is conclusive, that is absolute. We can be 100% assured. We have to make sure that whatever evidence is obtained for investigation is 100% correct. So these are the basic difference. Again, audit done by a chartered accountant, the other one will be a very expert. So basically, these are the difference between investigation and auditing. Auditing does not follow a doubtful approach, whereas the investigation follows a doubtful approach done by a chartered accountant. Auditing done. Here, auditing is done by an expert team. The scope is given by the terms of engagement for investigation, whereas for auditing, it is given by the relevant laws of the engagement letter or ICAI announcements. Now, what is the frequency? Audit frequency could be normally annually, it could be half yearly or quarterly also. This is again determined by the specific requirement. Here the objective is what? Giving an opinion on whether the financials are representing a true and fair view. Here what is the main objective? Here the main objective is to establish a fact. And so in order to establish a fact, how do you establish a fact? By doing an in-depth examination. Here you have to give an opinion. It is only by doing a review of the financials, either documents or particular records. here we have to establish a fact, in-depth examination of specific areas. So here it is guided by standards on auditing. This is by standards on related services. So done by chartered accountant, done by the expert. So these are the basic. Here it follows up. There are inherent limitations for auditing, but here there are no inherent limitations because it is very detailed in nature and in-depth examination will be done. And again, the type of evidence, here it is a conclusive one, whereas for auditing it is persuasive. Audit evidence is always persuasive. It cannot be given an absolute assurance. So this is the difference between auditing and investigation. So this question I was again asked several times in the examination. Now we'll discuss few questions that is important. So first, starting with the definition of auditing, we have what is the meaning of financial statement. First, for the first session we saw what financial statement. So that again was many times it was asked. Again, we have what is the difference between different types of audits. What are government voluntary audits and those that is required by law, and what are the advantages of independent audit. Again, this is one important topic for the examination which has been tested several times. Then we have what are the aspects to be covered in the audit. What is the nature and scope of auditing? So that we covered in the previous session. So again, that again was checked. Then we have the qualities of an auditor. We have your technical qualities as well as your ethical requirements. So both. And again, independence. What are the threats to independence? What is the relevance of independence in an audit? That is very important. Now again, auditing and investigation. Difference between auditing and investigation. Now, what is the objective of IASB and what are the different standards that is put forward by IASB? And lastly, we have what are the relationship of auditing with different things of study. So whatever we covered today. So almost all the exam points have been covered today. So next session we'll start with the next standard relating to analytical procedures. So till then, I think this is all about the first chapter. So see you for the next session. Thank you.